I watched through my own security camera as the president of our HOA pulled a gun and fired at my 3-day-old daughter. She didn't care that my wife was standing right there screaming, trying to shield the baby with her body. And the cruelest part, she had no idea that I'd spent 20 years wearing the badge of county sheriff. That was her biggest mistake. She just made this personal. My name is David Miller. I thought I'd left the worst parts of humanity behind when I retired. I'd seen killers, abusers, liars, people capable of things you can't imagine. And somehow, after all that, I still believed in the good of people. I thought if I moved into a nice, quiet neighborhood, I could finally breathe. My wife Sarah and I just wanted a normal life, a safe place to raise our daughter Emma. But then came Karen Hutchkins. Maplewood Heights looked like the American dream on the surface. Perfect lawns, kids on bicycles, neighbors waving from porches. And then this woman slithered into power as HOA president and decided she was the law. Karen, short blonde hair cut sharp like a warning sign, face pinched like she'd been sucking on lemons her whole life, clipboard in hand like it was a loaded weapon. If there was a way to make life miserable, she knew it and she used it. First, it was our mailbox. 2 inches too far to the left, she wrote in her violation notice. Then our flowers. Wrong shade of petunias. Then the car parked 3 inches over the driveway edge. Every week another fine, another threat. I tried to play nice. I paid the fines, moved the damn mailbox, replanted the flowers. Nothing satisfied her. That Tuesday afternoon in May, Sarah had barely recovered from a brutal delivery. But she wanted Emma to feel sunlight, to breathe fresh air. She dressed our tiny girl in a pink onesie with butterflies smiling through her exhaustion. She pushed the stroller down the driveway, slow, careful, whispering little lullabies. I watched from my office window, my heart full. That's the last peaceful moment I remember. Karen's black SUV tore down the street too fast, too loud. She screeched to a stop in front of our house, slammed her door, stormed over with that damned clipboard. I couldn't hear every word, but I saw Sarah's expression change, peaceful, then confused, then scared. Karen was yelling. I opened the front door just as Sarah raised her voice, begging her to stop yelling because it was scaring the baby. And then I heard Emma cry that fragile newborn cry that pierces straight through your chest. I don't care about your baby, Karen screamed. The rules are the rules. That's when I started running. 20 years on the job taught me to recognize danger in someone's eyes, and hers. They weren't just angry, they were unhinged. Ma'am, step back, I barked in my old sheriff voice. You're too close. She spun on me. Oh, the big retired sheriff. Think you're special. Think you don't have to follow the rules. Karen, my wife just had surgery. She's walking our newborn. There's no violation here. Yes, there is, she shrieked, veins popping on her neck. She waved the clipboard like it was a badge. That stroller is 3 inches over the boundary. Sarah tried to pull it back, apologizing, but I cut her off. Don't apologize. You didn't do anything wrong. Karen lunged forward, grabbed the stroller handle, and yanked. Sarah stumbled, crying out in pain as her stitches ripped. My heart stopped. Emma nearly toppled from the stroller onto the concrete. Sarah caught it with her body, sobbing, her face white with pain. Let go, I roared, closing the distance. And then Karen reached into her purse. Time froze. Her hand came out with a pistol, small silver trembling in her grip. No one talks to me like that, she screamed. No one disrespects me. My training kicked in. I raised my hands. Put it down, Karen. You don't want to do this. Look at me, not them. I'm the one you're mad at. For a second I thought I'd gotten through. The barrel pointed at my chest. Better me than them. I'd take a bullet 1,000 times over my wife and daughter. But then Emma whimpered again, that soft newborn sound that should melt any heart, and Karen's face twisted into something monstrous. Shut that baby up, she shrieked, and she swung the gun back toward the stroller. I dove, but I was 3 feet too far. The gun cracked once, twice, 3 times. Sarah screamed. I crashed into Karen, tackled her to the ground, sent the gun skittering across the concrete. She laughed an insane, high-pitched laugh as I turned to see blood on my wife's shirt on the stroller on the pavement. David. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. She shot Emma. The world stopped. My hand shook as I ripped off my shirt and pressed it to my daughter's tiny arm where blood soaked through. She was crying, screaming, but alive. "It's okay, baby girl," I sobbed. "Daddy's here. You're going to be okay." The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. It felt like 4 years. Sarah was bleeding, clutching her stitches. Neighbors stood frozen, horrified. Karen kept chanting, "Violation. Rules." I had to enforce the rules like a broken record. At the hospital, surgeons worked for hours. Emma's shoulder bone was shattered fragments they had to remove. Sarah was stitched back together again, but the guilt on her face cut deeper than any wound. "I couldn't protect her," she whispered again and again. News spread fast. HOA president shoots newborn over stroller dispute. Reporters swarmed. Neighbors lined up with their own horror stories, threats, fines, intimidation. Karen's lawyer countered with the insanity card. Stress of HOA duty, mental breakdown, diminished capacity. I knew the playbook. I'd seen monsters walk free on technicalities, and that terrified me more than her gun ever could. There was a moment, I'll admit it, when I almost gave up. Sitting in that hospital, listening to my baby cry in pain, watching Sarah dissolve into depression. I thought maybe I'd failed. Maybe I should have moved faster, yelled louder, shielded them better. Maybe it was my fault. The doubt ate me alive. But then I remembered I still had tools. I wasn't just some broken father. I'd been sheriff. I knew where to dig. So I started pulling strings. Old contacts, old case files. And what I found made my blood run cold. Karen had been HOA president before twice. Both ended in disaster. Complaints of harassment lawsuits from families, a case where she allegedly poisoned a neighbor's dog over a landscaping violation. Settled quietly, hidden under non-disclosure agreements. She'd been arrested for assault. Twice. Charges dropped after anger management. Restraining orders. Threats. Stalking. This wasn't her first meltdown. This was a pattern. I built a file thicker than any clipboard she'd ever carried. I handed it to the district attorney, Linda Martinez, a woman I'd trusted on countless cases. She studied it and said, "This undercuts her insanity defense. Shows she's been violent for years." But David, I can't promise life in prison. Maybe 20 years if we're lucky. 20 years. My daughter was 3 days old. In 20 years, she'd be grown, just starting her life. And Karen might walk free. The thought hollowed me out. But it was all we had. The trial came. Sarah testified, voice shaking, as she described shielding the stroller, hearing the shots. Karen's lawyer twisted the knife. "But you admit the stroller was blocking the sidewalk." The judge sustained the objection, but the seed was planted, victim blaming disguised as law. When I testified, they tried to paint me as the aggressor. A big man, a trained sheriff charging a fragile woman. They wanted the jury to see me as the threat. I kept my voice steady, but inside I was boiling. Then Karen herself took the stand. She cried, apologized, said she didn't even remember pulling the trigger. Claimed she loved children, claimed the stress broke her mind. And some jurors leaned forward sympathetic. I wanted to scream. It was a performance carefully rehearsed, carefully delivered. The jury deliberated for 2 days. I didn't sleep. I kept picturing my daughter's bandaged arm, my wife's haunted eyes. Finally, the verdict: guilty on all counts. Attempted murder assault with a deadly weapon, child endangerment. Karen broke down, sobbing, her lawyer whispering frantically, but it was over. At sentencing, Sarah read her statement. She spoke of nightmares, panic attacks, the fear that choked her every time she tried to leave the house. Her voice cracked, but she finished. I spoke next, listing every choice Karen had made, how she had chance after chance to stop, but pulled the trigger 3 times on a newborn. The judge didn't hold back. He laid out her history, her pattern, her cruelty. Then he sentenced her to the maximum 25 years, no parole for 20. Karen screamed as deputies hauled her away. And that's where it ended. Not with joy, not with closure, just with silence. Because here's the truth, there is no happy ending. My daughter still carries scars on her shoulder. My wife still flinches at loud noises. And me, I still replay that day, wondering how 3 inches of stroller could nearly cost us everything. Karen thought she was untouchable, that HOA power meant real power, that rules mattered more than people. But rules don't trump humanity, and power without compassion is just violence waiting to happen. That's the lesson: when authority forgets its purpose, it becomes the very thing it claims to fight.